Hello, good people, once again. We are going to go over memory card sizes, as in the maximum data storage support for Garmin automotive devices. I am going to go over many models here. However, if I do not mention yours, this article you are seeing right here will be linked as a pinned comment, so you can look this up for yourself. Let us start with the old ones first, the StreetPilot. For the little guys, the i2, i3, and i5, I've mentioned this before, 2 GB. And while it says SD, this is actually micro SD for the i2, i3, and i5. For the big ones, the 7200 and 7500, same thing, 2 GB, and I believe that is full-size SD. For the C300 series, it is 2 GB, and for the C500 series, it is a 4 GB. And that's it for the StreetPilot. Next, we will move up to the, just taking a look here, the nuvi. Well, I'll do the nuLink Live first, just one model. Well, two models technically, the 1690 and the 2390, 32 GB. Before continuing, note that it says Class 2 through Class 10. What this means is if you buy a new 32 GB card right now, it will be a Class 10 and possibly say UHS, which means ultra high speed. Does that mean it will work in this? If it is 32 GB, yes it will. Now let's look at the nuvi line. I will start with the older ones, this one right here. The 300, 600, and 5000 are really the only weird ones here. Because, first of all, the 5000 has an 8 GB limit, which is odd, but it is limited to 8 GB. What's even more odd are the 300 and the 600 series nuvis, because true, it can support 32 GB. However, it can only support 1 to 2 map files, I believe. So you can have a gmapsupp.img and a gmapsup1.img, I believe, or it's the, if I remember correctly, on the device you can have gmaprom.img, and then on the card you can have gmapsupp.img. And only up to 2 GB per file. So this 32 GB, true, you could put, for example, a bunch of MP3 files, because it has an MP3 player on this model. But as far as multiple map image support, no. You can have one map image on the device, one additional supplemental map image on the card. That's it. And they cannot exceed 2 GB each. So you do have the 32 GB support, but it's really limited. So you'll never be able to fill this with map data. That's unfortunate, but that is the way it is. And only for these. I think only for these. If I spot any other ones, I will let you know. So that is for the 350, 360, 370, 650, 660, 670, 680, and 5000. And let's move on to these first. Yeah, okay, these are two other odd models, being the 295 and the 800 series. Well, all the 800s. You have a maximum capacity of 8 GB. That's all that will support. I do believe you can have more than one supplemental map image on this one. I cannot confirm that because I have never owned any of these models. I've never owned a 295, although I would like to. I would like to get my hands on a 295W one of these days. On eBay, I have looked around, way too expensive. That's why I don't have one. Everyone wants too much for it. It's not that collectible, but they want it. No. And yeah, you do have an 8 gigabyte limit now on the 800 series. For those of you that read my community post page, my YouTube community page, you will notice I said the best older model for a standalone MP3 player as well as a navigator is the nuvi 700 and not the 800. This is why. Right here, because you have this 8 gigabyte limit, although maybe the 700 has, no, actually I think that one is 32 gig. I believe this was the reason right here, because you can run out of space very quickly. Because if you have these supplemental maps such as OpenStreetMap and then you combine that with many MP3 files, you can legitimately run out of space. So okay, that covers that. Now we get on to the big category, the nuvi. Okay. I believe every single one of these has a maximum capacity of 32 gigabyte. So we have the essentials line here, which is all these 30, 40, 50, 42, 44, 52, as in nuvi 52, not drive 52. We'll get to that. 54, 55, 56, 65, 66, 57, 58, 67, 68. Even the old 200 series. Now, true, the nuvi 200 series technically older than the 800 series, but it does have full support for 32 gigabyte. However, it depends whether you have a gray sticker serial number or a white sticker serial number. If you have a white sticker serial, then you have better support for multiple maps. If it is a gray sticker, you may not. Just because they're different revisions of the circuit board used. So there's that. You should be aware of that. That's only for the 200s ending in 0. For the ones ending in 5, 205, 255, 265, 275, I believe every single one of those, including the wide models, are white sticker serial numbers. So we're good there. You may see 465 and say, oh, I've never heard of that one before. I believe that was one of the early trucker models before the diesel series. I think so. I've never handled a 465, but I believe it is roughly the same as a 265. I think so. Okay, moving on. Yep, the nuvi 500, that was the rugged model. Here it is right here. Oops, sorry, I clicked on something I should not have. I'll have to go back. I have to remember not to do that. Here are the 700 series models, and as you see, 32 gigabyte. Not 8, 32, like it should be. So, again, on my YouTube community post page, I mentioned this one in particular, the 755, 765, 775, 785. As far as being the one that is both navigator and best standalone MP3 player, it is this one. You have the 32 gigabyte limit instead of just 8, and it will support up to 2,000 MP3 files, whereas the other ones will be 1,000 or even 500. And then we have I have two 1100 models and I have two 1260s. Absolutely, these will support 32 gigabyte and multiple maps, provided that it is in a folder called Map and not Garmin. I have mentioned this before, but I will mention it here again. When you install custom maps, such as the ones I offer on your device, if you put them onto a memory card, you can put them in one of two folders, either into a folder called Garmin or a folder called Map. You should try Garmin first. If it doesn't work, if you copy them to the Garmin folder, move them over to a folder called Map, and then they will work. And this is one of those models, and I believe also the 1300 and 1400 right here are the same way. Then we have the little guys. These are 3.5s, the 2200 and 2250. Yep, 32 gig, which also I believe has to be in, I think that one has to be in the Garmin folder and not the mapped folder on the SD card. And I think that follows suit with the 2300 series, pretty sure, and the 2400 series. Strictly speaking, on a naming convention, this one is a little bit weird because the 2300 series is a 4.3 inch screen and the 2400 series is a 5-inch screen. They should have just named this one the 25, but they didn't. Okay. And then we have the actual 24, 2455, 2475, 2495. These are for actual 4.3 inch screens. And then, yep, the 2457, 2497, I have both of those. I believe from here to the end of the list, there will be no problem whatsoever supporting multiple maps. Well, actually, those and the ones I started with here. These Essentials models. Oh, and the nuvi 55 and these two. Yeah, those will support multiple maps without issue. It's only the very old ones that you may have multiple map issue support with, like the 200 series with the gray sticker serial number. But if it's white stickers, I'll mention again, then it will be fine. Let's see, where was I? Yeah, right about here. Then we have, yeah, these are the LMT HD models. I've mentioned these before. These are the 6-inch models with the 2600 series, the 7-inch models with the 2700 series. The 34 and 3500 series, these two right here, act more or less the same as an Essentials model with extra features. And then you have the 3597, which acts very similar to a 2589. And then the 3700 series. Yeah, and then we're good. Okay, and you'll notice every single one of these, 32 gigabyte, every single one of them. Which from a collector's point of view, or even just a regular usability point of view, makes this easy. What card do I buy if I need to add one in? 32. No problem. And it covers many models. Then we have the ones with the dash cam. And this is one of the first ones, which is the nuvi cam. Now, you'll see that 64 and say, oh, is that for maps? No, it is not. Not yet. Anyway, we're getting to that. For the regular map data, you will see right here, map SD card slot, 32, just like the other nuvis. For the camera slot, yes, it does have 2 micro SD slots, one for map data, one for dash cam video. That one will support 64 on just this model. For now, there's other models too. We're getting to those. For the nuvi cam LMT HD. And you'll see right here, C using a 64 memory card or larger for devices below compatible with such and so on. We're getting to that. Okay, now we get into the Garmin Drive series. Just checking. Yes, we're going to get right into it. Garmin Drive, Drive Assist, Drive Cam, Drive Lux, DriveSmart, Drive Track. So we have a whole bunch here that are 32. This includes Drive 5, Drive 6, this is a 5-inch, this is a 6-inch, the Drive 40, remember that one I covered? That's only available in the UK. I am the only idiot in the United States that has one. Yes, that's me. Drive 50, Drive 60, Drive 51, Drive 61, Drive 52, Drive 61, and that one's a capacitive screen, I think. Yes. Those are all 32 right here. Then we have, all right, we take a big bump up when you go to the Drive 53, 256 gigabyte, which is for map data. Yes. So on the 53, which is a current model at the time I record this, you can put in a 1/4 terabyte. Should you? No. Just use 32. 32 is fine. You do not need, I mean, if you really want to, some people they just have to max out their Garmin. Oh, I'm going to get this and put 256 gigs into this, even though I will never use it. That's your choice, not mine. I just use 32. Drive Assist. Now, this one has a dash cam, only on the Drive Assist models. So you have, and again, it has 2 memory slots. And you will see here again, that is the map SD slot is 32 and the camera SD slot is 64, just like the nuvi cam. So if you want to max out this one on a Drive Assist 50 or a Drive Assist 51, there's just 2 for that particular series. If you know the DriveSmart 50 and DriveSmart 51, it's the same model with a dash cam attached in the back. 32 for your map data, 64 for your dash cam data, your video data, that is. Okay, then we get to the Drive Cam, not the DriveSmart, Drive Cam. That is the current Navigator Plus dash cam model. That one is 1/2 terabyte, 512 gigs for the map or the camera slot. So you can put, 512 gigabytes in the Drive Cam. I really want to remind you, it is the Drive Cam model, not the DriveSmart. That's different. But if you want to put in 512 gigabytes across, each card in the Drive Cam, yes, you can. Also note on this one, for the map SD, it has to be a minimum class 4. You can't even buy anything under a class 10 today for speed, but you'll notice this is one of the first ones that is has a minimum requirement of a class 4 instead of a class 2. Ooh, fancy. Don't worry, any new card you buy will be class 10. You don't have to worry about that. And then we go back in time a little bit with the Drive Lux. That one, 32 gigabyte across the board. So 50 or 51, LMTHD or not, they use 32 gigabyte maximum. Okay, now we have a whole bunch of DriveSmart models. DriveSmart 5, 6, 7, which means 5-inch, 6-inch, 7-inch screen. If you've never heard of those are, I believe, Walmart exclusive models. Are they any better or worse? Not really. Then we have DriveSmart 50, 60, 70. And we have 71. And LMTS, that's the smartphone version. That's what the -S means. DriveSmart 55, 61, LMTS, again, smartphone version. DriveSmart 65, and that's all 32 gigabyte. Then we have the, as I've made jokes about, the DriveSmart 65 with Alexa. That is a 32. Okay, this one, I've been meaning to talk about this, and I might as well do it now. There is this special Traveler's Edition of the DriveSmart 65. Here, I would like to get one, but the problem is I have no way to know how to identify one. And I don't know what makes it special compared to other ones. And I don't even know if it's better than the Alexa model. Probably not. But it's a 32 gigabyte. Then we have the DriveSmart 66 and 76. Well, we don't get 512 gigs here, but you can put in 256 gigabytes. That has a single card slot. So, yep, 260 256 gigabytes, a quarter terabyte of data. And you can do the same thing with the, that is the 6676, and as you see down here, and the 86, 256. Yes, you can. Something I have not tested yet. Now, as you are probably aware, if you're not, I will tell you now, FAT32, FAT32, has a maximum limit of 32 gigabyte. So when you go over 32 gigabyte, you use something called exFAT, EXFAT, EXFAT. So you can get access to 64 gigs and above. I am assuming, although I haven't tested this yet, that is the file system that needs to be used when you go over 32 gigabyte with a micro SD card into a modern Garmin DriveSmart. I think so. I have not confirmed that, but I will test that later just to see. And then finally the Drive Track models. That's 32 gigabyte. And let us see if there's anything else I have to cover. Yeah, before continuing, the Drive Cam, that's the one that has the 512. That to me is amazing. Especially concerning the camera, the dash cam in particular, because it would take a long time to fill that up. That is days, possibly weeks worth of dash cam footage data. And I do not know how stable that would be with that much data on that card running continuously. I don't own that model. I do not know. I have heard from DriveCam owners, not personally, but reviews from DriveCam owners say, yep, it works great. I'll have to take their word for it because I don't own one. I have not tried it myself. And let us see if I missed anything here. Now, yes, there is the Zumo models. I'm not going to get into those because I do not ride a motorcycle. But again, I will have this linked so you can go take a look at this right now yourself if you want to know about the Zumo models. Okay. Now, this, where it says Garmin Dash Cam, these are not navigators. These are just dash cam models. That's what those are. So that's why I didn't go over those, because I am about the navigators. And then you have the diesel models up here and the camper and RV models up here. So again, if you own one of those and you want to check it out, yes, you can. Just go to this Garmin link and you will be all set. But, okay, on a final note, going back to the vintage models for the StreetPilots and early nuvis, which I'll get back to in a moment. Yeah. Okay. For the really little guys, the 1.8, I believe it's a 1.8 inch screen for the I series, I2, I3, I5. Whew. Obviously, you're only going to be able to put one map image on a memory card. As a matter of fact, you can't even put any data into internal memory on those. It is solely memory card that it reads off of for its map data. I own two of them. I have an I3 and an I5. And they're cute. And you've seen it in my previous videos. And it's nice that they run off AA batteries. That's nice. Regular alkalins too, which is great. But yeah, you're only going to get one map image off of that. There are a fair amount of people out there, even now in 2025, that still have C300 series StreetPilots. There are a lot of people, especially outside of the United States, that have C310s. Some have C320s, maybe even a few C330s out there, and they really want to get these things working again. Well, as I've mentioned before, you cannot input direct coordinates into those models. That is the biggest problem with them. Well, okay, it's not a problem. The feature just simply isn't there. Sure, you can go to userbeam.de and get those maps for other nations. They have everything, even more so than Open Map Chest. So you can find your maps there. The problem is that because you cannot enter GPS coordinates directly, and meaning you have to search by street address or name, probably will not work that well. Probably. And I wish there was something I could say to say, oh, if you install this little utility, then you can input coordinates and get that C300 series working, or C500 for that matter, but no. It's unfortunate, but it's just the way it is. I mean, it's an old model. I think the oldest you can go would be, to stay on the safe side of things, for compatibility's sake, would be a nuvi 200. You can get one of those, and that will work. But as far as using one of those old C300 StreetPilots, yeah. And the very last thing I'll say is, well, I own a bunch of nuvi 40s. I have three of them, I think, nuvi 30s. And I have a 42 and a 44 and a 52 and a 55. I have all these what are called essentials models. These, to me, like I said before in a previous video, if there's anything that's going to be working 10 years from now, probably it will be these essentials models. These are the workhorse models right here. It is true that it doesn't run from AA batteries. It'd be great if it did that, but it doesn't. But you can at least replace the battery, which is nice. The screens are good. The touch response is decent. So going old, you really can't go wrong with one of these. Although there are also a fair amount of people that have 200 series models because Garmin made way too many of these things. This is why you can still find them sealed. You can find these things new on eBay right now. If you search for Garmin nuvi sealed on eBay, you're going to find more or less two types of models. 200 series and 1100 series. Or what should I say, 1000s. Yeah, 1100 and 1200 series. You will find those sealed. They made way too many of them. Which is good, because that means you can get them very cheap. And in literally new condition. That's nice. It's a small screen, but it is new. You can totally do it. Even so, I think it is better to go with the essentials models. These are the workhorse guys. There you have it, people. I believe I have covered everything, and yep, that's all there is to it. If there's model you have that I did not talk about, it will be here. It will be here. Again, it is linked.